Men of Reddit, what are the struggles of dating a very rich girl? She was always doing something, constantly going on trips, or to the openings of expensive restaurants, or traveling to her parents' vacation house, or getting tickets for some opening night or something. It was frankly exhausting. She had money and she wanted to spend it, and I just couldn't keep up. I say had because it was entirely her parents' money. She was in grad school, though she was struggling at it, and otherwise had absolutely no work or experience. Outside of a restaurant, she barely had any life experience either. I lived in a pretty rich area of the Bay Area. My GF at the time was very rich for this already wealthy area, but she truly had no concept of money. Her budget was $12,000 a month. Her family bought her a brand new Porsche because her car was 5-year-old BMW M5. It was honestly like dating an alien. Any issues I had in everyday life were just so far out of her life experience. Edit. She had a trust fund that paid out $12,000 a month. Edit 2. If I had $10 for every person asking if she is single still and if they could have her number, I would have a trust fund of my own that pays out $12,000 a month. Nothing. There was literally nothing wrong with dating a rich girl when I was poor back in college. I had a good major, was an athlete, and her family loved me. I didn't have money to give her flashy gifts, and she didn't care. If she wanted a Birkin, she'd just shop with her mom. I didn't have money to take her on fancy vacations or trips. We'd just go skiing at her parents' condo and I could always find a way to scrape up some money to get myself there and everything else would be taken care of. They didn't care that I wasn't an appropriate suitor at the time. I was just a college kid and must have done a nice enough job of presenting myself that they knew I'd figure it out. It was an awesome relationship. One of the least stressful relationships imaginable. We eventually fell out of love for other reasons, but I look back on that time fondly and we ended things amicably. Still on good terms with the family too. I can't say very rich, but my wife and I definitely come from different socioeconomic castes. Her family was upper middle class, and mine was just above poverty level. She just didn't understand the panic I felt when money was running low. She didn't know the dread you get when your car starts making a strange noise and you know you can't afford to fix it. For her, everything would work out because she had parents with money to swoop in and make it all better. In short, she never understood the struggle and wasn't very smart with her money. It's not even that she wasn't smart, it's that she wasn't the same sort of ingenious that poor people are with stretching every penny. Eventually, we both got decent jobs and managed to put back a good savings, and we both grew to understand each other's money habits. I guess I had a different type than everyone else. We worked together and you wouldn't know she was rich unless you really got to know her. She worked as a diversion, something to do and meet new people. She never looked at the price of anything. Had a $5,000 watch. Dolce & Gabbana glasses she would break at least once a month cause she's clumsy. Very humble, very sweet and probably the hardest worker there. We were managers. The issue was that there was absolutely nothing we could do together that was new to her. She had more money and free time. Her bucket list was completed by 22. There was nothing new or fresh within my, I don't know the word, realm, ability. We got along great and I found out from a mutual friend she was excited to be with someone not using her or groveling cause she was duck-you levels of rich. It was my pride I think that ruined it. Nothing she did. I had issues letting her pay for everything and I was unable to show her anything she hadn't seen. I stopped being fun because I couldn't wow or impress her and it got in my head. She was perfectly happy doing normal things, but it wasn't enough for me. I had to impress her. We lost contact years ago. I hope she's doing well. She was ducking awesome and deserves to be happy. Constantly balancing their lifestyle expectations with your salary. I went through it as a 23-year-old making $42K in Manhattan. A carefree weekend without pro-gaming can blow your entire monthly discretionary income. I dated this girl while in college. She never mentioned anything. She lived a simple life until I went to her family's place for Thanksgiving. Right off the bat, her mom did not like me. I respect everyone, but if you try me, I go hard. Her mom told me that she would feel more comfortable if she had my social security to do a check on me, to make sure I am not a felon or something. I asked her for her social security to make sure her money was legit and that if me and her daughter had kids, they wouldn't end up having grandparents in jail. We are not together now. Not the man but the rich girl. I hope you guys are interested in my story. I come from a family who built their way in the world and got very wealthy. Growing up my parents had me and my sister working regular jobs so we would learn the value of money. It worked. Back then, I was not allowed to date anyone until I was 18. Not that I ever cared because I was a nerd and preferred my video games to real people. When I got older and nature described to kick in, I was starting college and I met a guy. He was very handsome and did not seem to care who my family was. I was pleased because most people would fake to be my friends because of my background. That lasted until I met his parents. He was from a lower middle class family and his parents were all about the what are the neighbors going to think mindset. They are so excited about me that they started being so weird, buying a Mercedes that they could not afford, buy nice clothes, expensive wines. The guy just got terrible after a few years. We moved together in a very nice downtown condo and he went mad. He loaded his credit card to buy expensive watches, suits, shoes. My dad got him a job in a good company and I guess he thought he was a big shot now. I left him about 6 months later because he was trying to change me into a trophy wife. He was getting upset if I did not have makeup on or if I was gaming in my PJs all day and night because you know, if someone would have knocked the door and I was dressed like that, what would they have thought? When I left, I was still paying for the condo he was living in. His parents were harassing me about their son's future and trying to manipulate me into going back. I am not that stupid. I tried to get him to buy me out of the condo. He did not want it to. We got into a massive legal fight. It was terrible. I have other stories if you are interested. Sorry for the English, not my first language. My wife didn't tell me about any of the money stuff until right before we got married. I knew that her family was pretty well off because I had traveled with them a few times, but I honestly had no clue what it was all like. Like someone else said, crisis has a completely different meaning. We only live off of what we make now. Any money in any other accounts are for very specific purposes. Down payment for a house, car savings. I feel very fortunate that I married into a family that knows the right way to handle money and doesn't act rich. She thought her parents' money was her money. Her parents would even remind her that it wasn't. She literally got everything she wanted though. One of the craziest things she asked for and received was a professional full format Epson printer. The thing was the size of a Mini Cooper and made absolutely stunning prints. She also expected everything to be paid for her. She also didn't have to work, had school paid in full. We both went to art center in Pasadena. Very expensive. Her parents paid for it in full, so she had no debt. I'm still paying for it, and she had the nerve to tell me I wasn't doing enough while I was going to school and working full time. My girlfriend grew up pretty well off and developed some expensive habits and tastes. When we first started dating she was okay with eating at Chick-fil-A and restaurants of the sorts, but as time went on she started to refuse going there and wanted to go out to better places. There was one night where she was going to cook dinner before we went out for the night. She messed up the recipe a bit and tossed the whole meal in the trash and said we could just go eat out somewhere. I was panicked inside, money was low and I didn't know how I would pay for gas or rent until I got paid again. I threw out suggestions for things I could afford like pizza, chicken or Mexican food, but she and her sister decided they wanted to go to this upscale steakhouse. We went there and she and her sister both had like $35 meals, so I didn't order anything and just said I was feeling sick and not hungry. I don't know if she fully grasped the concept of bills and how expensive they can be. Her parents paid for everything for her. We had many conversations about money and not being able to afford fancy dinners, but she would always say that I need to save my money and be smarter with it. I married way up. I live in a nice medium-sized city. The main road, the mall, the parks, schools are all named after my wife's family. Very old money. When my mother-in-law goes out with us to nice restaurants, everything comes to a halt. People whisper. It's a surreal existence sometimes. I've got a good job, unrelated to her family, that takes me out of state pretty often. But I really don't have to work, although I feel too young to retire. I didn't really have any struggles dating my wife. She's very down to earth. Her family was very gracious and I never felt weird. I'm often referred to as Mr. her maiden last name, and I've never minded. I figure it's like being the non-famous spouse of a famous actress. I'm not very rich, but I'm a girl who definitely comes from a more well-off family than my boyfriend does. I would say I am upper middle class. His family gets by but they have financial troubles now and again. He seems to have no idea how to manage money. Starbucks, eating out, movies, all the time. When I had to buy a car, I bought a used but dependable Toyota, paid full price. He bought a brand new BMW that he can only afford to pay in installments. That's another thing that bugs me. For all big purchases, laptop, car, etc., he pays in installments. I was always taught that, excepting really big purchases like a house or such, only buy things you can afford to pay full price for at a time. It saves money and curbs your spending habits. I pay for all the dates, but I'm getting tired of eating out and tips and always getting appetizers, drinks, and dessert. Over the course of our relationship, I've learned to spend a lot more and he's learned to save more, but there is still a discrepancy.